What's up, everyone? Marzi Montezeri here with another episode of We'll Name It Later show, episode number 21. My pleasure here, Mr. Mark May, man. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks for asking, man. It's an honor,
Mark, man, I got to tell you, man, you're one of those guys, like I would say, I'm not comparing you, but it was like Eric Johnson. You see him play, and he's like, what a monster player, right? And then you meet him.
Might be going a little far there, but
I met him, and it was like, oh, no way. And it was the same way with you. What I mean is, like, you're such a great player. You're playing and your personality, man, are like two beautiful things that go together. I've known that since the very, very beginning. And I thank you. I know you got a gig later on.
Yeah.
And I thank you for being here.
It's close to here. So
thank you for bringing this beautiful guitar here to talk about a little bit of your past, if you don't mind. I want everybody to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you all know who Mark is, but if you don't, we're going to dive into it today, and it wouldn't be an interview without Memphis. So, Mark, man.
Yeah, Memphis is a big part of my past, actually.
I wanted to get into that, man. Where were you born and raised, man?
Well, I was born and raised near Columbus, Ohio, and my family played music. My mom was a singer-songwriter. My brother she came from Kentucky, so they had very bluegrass, country, gospel kind of background. Her and my uncle was a really good bluegrass musician. And then my brother was a rock musician. He played guitar, played bass. He was in a band for a while with Craig Fuller, the guy who wrote Amy, the Pure Prairie League band. That was a pretty big band back in the 70s. They still like traveling and stuff. And so he played with some cool people and taught me a lot growing up. So I had two different sides of music that you
just raised like that.
Yeah, right. And so my brother was turning me on to Hendrix, Beatles, Santana, Clapton, Cream, all that stuff. And in my mom and dad's side of the family, they were listening to George Jones and Tammy Wynette, Dolly Parton, Bill Monroe, bluegrass stuff. We would sit around the house and play this stuff, and we would play a combination of all of it, So it was quite at the time, I didn't realize how lucky I was to have all those different influences, But, looking back on it, it was really cool.
I am so fascinated when I hear something like that. Because being a, little immigrant kid coming here and just discovering things on my own. And then meeting people. And then, like, their family was into it, Like, I'm the first musician in the family.
Oh, really?
But to hear that, to me, is so beautiful and colorful, man.
Yeah, we had a great time. We had a family band for a while,
amazing.
And all that stuff. And families always kind of sing good harmony together and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
And you got exposed to like so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was a good foundation, let's say.
That's a diverse foundation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what did you gravitate towards? Everything?
Yeah, at first I was real into playing blues and rock, or mainly rock because of my brother. And then my aunt had given me a B.B. King album to listen to, so I really liked it, but I didn't decide I had the blues bug at that point, but I really liked it, And so I listened to that, and I played rock and different things, and then, we started this band when I was... I played in a couple of rock bands, and then when we had the family band, we did a lot of country, and I actually sang a lot of George Jones and Ricky Skaggs and did all this country stuff, And so I did that on and off, and then when I moved down here in the 80s, I got in a rock band, and we played it like backstage in places like, the Parkway. I don't know if you remember all these places.
Yes, of course, yes.
And we had a lead singer who was really good, and he... we were playing it backstage one time, and we were called Mirror, but we were called Dactyl at one point. And Tesla's manager, I believe, was in there and saw him, and he was just a fantastic singer, and swooped him off and took him to California, and that was the end of my really cool rock band I had. Because,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and he took off, and but when I first got down here, we were talking about Helstar and the guys earlier, I saw an ad in probably the Green Sheet or somewhere for somebody looking for a guitar player, or maybe at Rockin' Robin or somewhere, on the billboard. And I went and tried out for this band. And it was Larry Brannigan's band.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know if him and James were playing together at the time or if he was trying to do his own thing. I don't remember the exact details.
Well, if it was Helstar, James was always in it.
No, I don't think it was Helstar.
Oh, Larry's band, huh?
Yeah, I don't remember the details. I just remember going to Larry's house. He had all these cool Jacksons and all these cool guitars that I didn't have.
Still does.
I had one Dean Baby Flying V. I still got it,
Awesome.
And that was my guitar. And I remember us playing, and at the end of the conversation, where I was jamming around, he was like, man, you sound great. He goes, but you sound more like Robin Trower, and I'm looking for somebody more like Yngwie, and because guys like you, and so you guys got this picking technique that you can do, and I could never do the fast alternate picking, My whole style of playing fast and stuff is with my finger.
Ooh.
It's totally different. So I could never do those kind of runs.
Yeah, but you get a different kind of fast.
Yeah, it was different. It kind of developed from playing country and stuff and using, those, your middle finger to play these licks.
Oh yeah.
This kind of, using your, those kind of, the licks. So when I started playing fast, it wasn't like, like you do. Like I could never do that. It was always involving my middle finger too, like those kind of things.
So
I'm always using my finger to pick.
Yeah,
dude.
I see that.
So it's just different.
I should bust on my camera and catch that.
Yeah.
That's man, because it sounds like you just basically alternate picking. But
yeah, it's alternate picking, but it's just with your finger. I can't play by myself. I'd be lost with that
totally
finger.
Got it. That's awesome.
So
man.
it's just the way I've always played is just with the finger. So I can never alternate pick like that.
So do you still do you like chicken pick and stuff like that? Do you have chicken picking?
Yeah,
from
the stuff that I played growing up. I did a lot of those steel guitar licks.
Oh, I love that. With the rock thing like seeped into you because that's nasty. You have like your tone though. You get that rock thing because you're known as a blues god, but you have a nasty edge to you.
Yeah, I've always been.
By that I mean tonally. You're like but I mean edgy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tame.
It's crazy. I just I'm not great at playing super clean tones unless I am playing country, and then. But I like using more overdrive than some of the blues guys do. So guess you call it blues rock or whatever.
Who's some of the guitar players?
But I'm just a
growing up?
guitarist. I'm an American guitarist that's played blues, rock, country.
Absolutely.
I was in hard rock bands, back in the '80s and stuff until I figured out I wasn't good at it like you guys.
I don't know about that, man.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I was okay. I have my own style. I loved guys like Michael Schenker. George Lynch, Warren DeMartini, those guys, they were my guys.
Yeah, but that's you said the key thing, man. You have your own style.
Yeah.
So we're on this journey, all of us doing one particular. And when it's a musical journey, to have your own voice is not that common. Because rest of it is like, especially like especially with metal, it becomes like cookie cutter stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing I watch stuff in astonishment, man, on like my phone. I'm like, whoa, and it is whoa. It's like most of it, like a lot of the guys are like absolutely amazing. But then there's a whole bunch when it's just like a wow factor. And it's like, man, to me, this thing, and especially the relationship I personally have with the blues, it's just like just listening to something. When you're feeling something, man, and you hear something that resonates with you, So there's a feeling involved in it. People forget that about music now.
Right, exactly.
But that's what's...
Yeah, there's technique and there's feeling, and if you can combine the best of both,
Right, and you got it. You're doing it.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate
wherever that derived from, I have no idea.
Well, that's what I've always admired about you, too, is the fact that you're not a guy who just says, there's this style of music and everything else sucks. You've always been all about, man, I love this kind of music and that kind of music, and because a lot of people aren't very open-minded about it.
I call it, my analogy for it is I'm the fat kid at the buffet line. I love it. I really do. I'm not a jack of all trades at all, but I do like all the styles. But the thing that I've always gravitated towards, and what's an honor having you here, is the blues, and it's the amount of emotion that it is impacted into that realm and in that style of music. You know, a lot of people go through the motions of it, especially now. You know, you can watch YouTube and you know, watch YouTube videos and Stevie Ray or what have you, and then think that you understand the blues. It's not that. What I loved about Stevie Ray, he always said, "I'm giving it back." You know, when you heard him, he had developed different styles of blues. And he was really giving it back, because if he wanted to study it, you go back to the root and go, oh man, this comes from Beebe, or this comes from Albert Lee, or you know, this comes from whatever, like Lightning Hopkins, you know.
Sure. And he delivered it with such power and passion. That was the thing about him, man. He was, you know,
kind of like Johnny. Johnny Winter to me was also to me were the two fiery dudes out of Texas.
Exactly.
Now you, sir, you're the fire dude. You know they're passing. You know they're passing on the torch to folks like you. Again, you wear the badge of honor with this thing.
Well, thanks.
I want to know, who were some key players growing up that moved you?
Well, you know, like I said, starting out, my brother turned me on to, you know, the Beatles and Hendrix and Santana and Clapton, basically. And I would say that's the main 4 people early on that I listened to. Then I went to a concert and I saw Rick Derringer play.
Oh, wow, okay.
So him and Danny Johnson had a couple of albums out in the mid-'70s after his Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo All-American Boy album that were real more progressive rock, where they played a lot of twin leads and stuff, kind of like the Allman Brothers, but a little more rock style. And they were great at it, man. They put on a great show. They ran back and forth and slid on their knees and threw their guitars to each other.
Oh, dude.
They were crazy. And I'm sitting there, while I'm like 14, I'm like watching these guys, I'm going, they're playing faster than Hendrix. How could they, you know, whatever, you know, they were just ripping it up, you know. And so that really, you know, I really got into his playing and his stuff for a while. And then, of course, then I heard about ZZ Top, you know, and started hearing some of their stuff and really digging that thing, you know. And man, I went through so many different phases with different guitar players. Like I said, the country guys like Albert Lee and Ray Flack that played with Ricky Skaggs, and all these dudes that played all this chicken picking stuff. And, you know, it just went on and on. I mean, you know, and then, so I was playing in mainly country bands down here after the rock band that got split up by the guy stealing our lead singer and leaving town. And I was hosting the jam down at the crew quarters in Seabrook for a while on Monday nights. And I was playing just stuff that you could play at a jam, classic rock, blues and stuff. And I was getting such a good reaction to it, you know, when Stevie Ray was out there and real hot, you know. And people were just kind of digging what I was doing. And I was like, well, maybe, you know, maybe this is what I should be trying to concentrate on instead of playing country, different things. And then a buddy of mine was there, and he gave me an Albert Collins cassette. And I listened to that, and I was like really blown away by his, you know, the Telecaster, you know, style, you know, and he used a lot of overdrive. Well, he didn't really use overdrive. He just cranked his 100-watt quad reverb up all the way, and he had a humbucker in the front, and it just
it was piercing.
It had a real overdrive, you know, sound to it, you know. He had all those, you know, that sound, and so I really got into his playing a lot, man, you know. And plus he played a telly, and at the time I was playing a telly because I was doing the country thing. And so it was kind of cool, you know. And he was real charismatic and everything. And so I kind of really got into Albert Collins heavily when I decided to start a blues band, you know. Kind of got bit by the whole blues bug. And so started me a little band back in the early 90s, around 92. And we made a cassette locally, and
was it just called Mark May?
It was Mark May and the Agitators.
Agitators, yeah. Okay, so it originated then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we made that, and I sent it around before the internet went and got, I think from the Houston Blues Society or something, got a list of all the record labels that did blues, and I sent it around to all the, you know, labels, and got a bunch of rejection notices like anybody else would, or no response, or, you know, like the guy from Alligator Records wrote back and said, I think you're a good guitar player. You got really good songs. I like these traditional blues songs better than these blues rock songs on the album. I don't think you're a very good singer yet. you know, just like all this, he didn't want to sign me. He was just telling me what he thought I should work on, which was really nice, that he sit down as busy as he was and listened to all this and wrote me this letter.
Yeah,
So I was just about to give up when a guy named Mark Gammon, who worked at Southwest Wholesale, he asked me, because I asked him if he could distribute my stuff into the local stores around town. And he said, I can take it into the warehouse, but if nobody orders it, it'll just sit there. And he said, have you talked to Johnny Phillips from Ice House Records in Memphis? And I said, I sent them something, but I didn't hear back from him. So he called Johnny, said, I know he has a new label. And he didn't remember hearing the album. And so I sent him another copy of it. I think I sent it to the distribution. They had Select-A-Hits distribution company, and then they had the Ice House Records, you know, it was just different divisions or whatever. So I sent it to him, and he really liked it, and he said, I want to put it out, I want to remix it and up here in Memphis and put it out. And so that was my first, and he was Sam Phillips' nephew from Sun Records and all that stuff. So he had a rich history in Memphis, you know. And so I was all excited about that, of course, you know.
Of course.
Little record deal, you know, going on. And so
that was your first one?
That was my first one. It came out in 1995, You Can Call on the Blues.
Awesome.
And so that came out. I did 2 records with them. And
when did the second one come out?
97, the Telephone Road album.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did those 2 records with them, 1995 and 1997.
And you're touring quite a bit. You're playing a lot.
Yeah, we were going out on the road quite a bit, as much as we could. You know,
played the region.
You know, just blues festivals around the country, wherever you know, wherever you can get anchor dates, you know, that pay good. You can go out and do a little tour around that area and come back and you know, whatever, and played in Paris for a few weeks, and just different things, you know, and played in Florida quite a bit, and had a couple of friends of mine that were big fans, and one of the guys owned a golf shop out there that Dickie Betts was shopping in, and he told Dickie, he said, you should listen to my friend's album, you know, and we really like this guy. And Dickie told me, he said, man, people give me albums all the time. He said, I'm constantly getting stuff. He said, I don't really listen to it. I listen to Billy Joe Shaver and, you know, just different, you know, John Coltrane, Charlie Parker. I mean, he listened to a lot of jazz and singer-songwriter, Americana, you know, stuff. He didn't just listen to like Southern rock or things like that. It was a lot of, and that's the whole thing. You know Big Bernie, right?
Big Bernie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Bernie sent me an article this morning that said, it talked about Dickie's upbringing, and it was exactly like kind of what I told you about mine. He played bluegrass and Western swing and all this stuff with his family. So when this guy finally talked Dickie into listening to my album, just because Dickie was tired of him asking him about it, he listened to it and he was like, you know, the first song has a little Western swing part in it, kind of, and it kind of plays a little bit like Albert Collins, and he said he kind of sings a little bit like Freddie King, which I thought was a real compliment. I didn't know about that, but so he said he wanted to meet me, and so I was like, you know, blown away. You know,
that is like, totally awesome.
You're just like, that
in Florida
can't be possible, right?
Yeah.
You're like, how could that be? I said, no, he doesn't, and he's like, yeah, he does, and I'm like, okay, you know, and so we went out there and played this little club called the 5 O'Clock Club in Sarasota, and he came out to see us and watched a set or two and asked us if we might want to do some shows opening for the Allman Brothers at places where they didn't need a big support act that had lots of people coming to see them. Like they had shows that they already knew that were going to be sold out in certain areas. Right. You know, they didn't need an opener that would draw a bunch of people. And so, of course, we said, sure, you know. One of those things that happens that you just can't.
That's amazing.
Can't believe it happens to you.
That's amazing. How many days did you guys do with them?
Well, you know, before I get to that, I got one other part of the story that I want to tell you. Oh yeah. So like 2 weeks later, back before cell phones, I get a page. So I stop at in Port Charlotte payphone and call the guy, and it's my friend Jimmy, who had turned me on to Dickie and stuff, or turned Dickie on to me, ever how you want. He said, well, Dickie wants to talk to you. So I'm thinking, he wants to ask me about the the tour, say something about it. So I called him, and he said, hey, man, he goes, I'm not trying to break your band up. He goes, but do you think you and your bass player might want to try out for the Allman Brothers? And I'm like, what did you just say? He's like, yeah, we can pay you, it was like good money, and this much. Not that I cared about that at the moment. It was just, I was in shock, And I said, well, of course. I said, but I don't really play that much slide or anything, because Warren and Alan Woody and stuff had the government mule thing going. And I think they were on the line about whether they wanted to do that full time or stay with the Allman Brothers, plus some deal about Capricorn Records or something that they didn't jive with the Allman Brothers at the time or something. I don't know. It's none of my business, but whatever. So I said, sure. I said, and Dickie just said, well, when Dwayne died, that he played slide a little bit, and that he didn't care that I didn't play that much slide. He said, if you can play a little bit, I can play a little bit. I'm thinking, sure, it's a weekend with Dickie Betts going to his house, because I just didn't think that I was the right person for that job, But stranger things have happened, right? So I went and tried out. I did not get the job, but it was very interesting audition, because it was me and Dickie and a bass player. No Greg, no drummer, just the three of us at Dickie's house, just going over songs, And so it was interesting. It went good, and I enjoyed it. But they eventually gave the gig to Jack Pearson. Do you know Jack?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to do my
Oh
homework.
yeah, man. He's just one of the greatest guitarists you'll ever hear.
Oh wow.
Great slide player, great singer, great. Could play jazz, blues, country. All these different. One of those guys, like we talked about earlier, right?
Right.
That's just the force of nature.
It meant the experience, though.
Yeah, just to be asked, it's like, it was just really cool. So anyway, so that didn't work out, but we did go do the tour with them. We opened up for them probably 15 dates that summer. And
which is amazing.
Right, and I got
and you get to be you.
Yeah, I got to be my own band, and they asked me to sit in with them several times. I probably played with them 4 or 5 times that summer, and
that's one of my favorite bands, by the way. Also,
yeah, just
I've mentioned it ain't my cross to bear a few times in this show, because that recording always freaks me out.
Yeah, I mean that's
the feedback and the execution of playing Greg's voice.
Yeah,
I'm like, how?
I mean,
it's one of those things.
When you have a soulful voice like that, I mean, I think that's what attracted me to blues so much, is just like we talked about, the feel. It's not just the guitar playing, but the singing, man.
Yeah, I mean,
that's soulful singing from the old original people and stuff, and even the old soul singers, Gladys Knight and all that. Man, I just love that stuff. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, because I mean, we totally. Didn't overlook it, but I'm a guitar nerd, so I had to jump in and ask you about the guitar. You also do the vocals, man. So you just mentioned a couple of vocalists. Who else?
Well, I mean, as far as blues singers go, B.B. King and all these people. I mean,
yeah, but I mean that's another element. You by doing both things, your soul's on the line, man. When you play.
Yeah, I've always had mixed feelings about my vocals, but
So did Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
But it's your intent.
You compare yourself to your heroes, and they're always, they're legends, and I mean, they're just, like you said, you find your own niche, what you can do good, and you go with it, and it just worked out okay.
Yeah,
now, I was sick a while back, and so I got through cancer treatment in January, and they had to do radiation to my neck, and I had to do chemo. So my voice is a little husky now. Some nights it feels like it wants to go out on me a little bit and everything, but I'm still getting through the gigs okay, and everything's going good.
I'm happy to hear you.
Yeah, tests have come back clear so far and everything on that, but
good, man.
But yeah, all these guys like Freddie King and Delbert McClinton and Greg Allman, and these great singers and stuff influenced me just as much as in soul singers, like Gladys Knight and and all these people, I've just, I can't get enough of it. A guy named Glenn Jones, who's a soul singer, just killer.
I hear you.
Yeah.
You're not just you're very traditional, right? In all aspects of American guitar player.
Yeah.
But you got fire. You get that fire. I have Albert Collins. I got an Iceman story. I saw him at Rockefeller's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was young. I saw him. I just could not take my eye off the corner of the stage where there was a pile of cables. I didn't get it.
Oh, yeah. I knew where you're going with that.
Yeah. So, he ends up jumping off the stage and going to table to table. This is Rockefeller's.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's off of a busy street called Washington. Well, this man walks out in the middle of the street. This is back in the day. Again, no cell phones.
Yeah.
Probably no pagers either. I was a young teen, man. And he held up traffic. I was like, and he was just, what an entertainer, man.
Those original guys were such great showmen. They had so much charisma. And
I had such a good time that night, man. Getting out there with
such a natural
here's the audience.
Charisma too. You can tell it's not
absolutely.
It's not conjured up. It's not forced. It's just their natural personality coming out and they're playing. I mean, and they would just look at the audience with this big smile on their face.
Smile.
Doing all stuff.
Yeah, that's
and
him.
It's just,
Yeah, that was him. And except his strap would be on that other side, man.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. You wore it over here,
He tore it up that day, man. Yeah. He tore it up, and I'm so, I'm so happy that, again, I saw that show by myself. Mm-hmm. All the shows in my life I've gone to probably, since I was 10. I went to Texas Jam in Dallas by myself. So Ted Nugent by myself. I saw that show by myself. And I saw Bill Hicks open up for Eric Johnson at Rockefellers. It's one of those other things. When you're a kid, I've never even heard of Eric Johnson. Again, like I discovered him, but I saw Bill Hicks, and, it's another Houstonian.
Yeah.
So, man, tone-wise, what made you kind of was it Billy, when you were mentioning, when I was nerding out on the guitar stuff, you started with Billy, then went on to some more traditional guys.
Yeah.
He took the tone, man, and we did some dirty things with it.
Like I said, I started out doing the telly thing, because I was so into Albert Collins, and at that time, everybody wanted to be Stevie Ray.
Okay.
Every guitar player you saw had a Strat. We were doing that. I love Strats, man. They're awesome.
Sure.
But I was doing, like I said, I was already doing the country thing. So, and then I started, just kind of fell over and, continued on with the Telecaster because of the Albert Collins and all that stuff. And it made me a little different. But I don't know. For some reason, my ear started developing a little bit more to playing, humbuckers more often. And I went through certain phases. I ended up getting I had a 68 Les Paul I used on a few songs for the first couple albums. And then I had a custom-made Telecaster that Huey Wilkinson made me that had Bardens on it, and I still have it, of course, that I played during the Telephone Road time period, and it still break out occasionally, and it's got a B-bender on it, like the hip shot B-bender that I used on some of the country stuff, and so I try to incorporate different kinds of sounds. Like there's a couple of songs that I use the B-bender on my albums. Yeah. There's a couple of songs I use a baritone guitar on,
man.
For an old school, kind of a different sound.
That's
which you
definitely
don't hear
not traditional.
Yeah, but getting back to the whole, main sound thing, I did that, and then I had a PRS McCarty that I started playing for a while, and I started hearing more because I was always, like I said, a big Carlos Santana, Billy Gibbons, fan, And after I got done playing with Dickie for a couple of years and came back and started doing my own thing, I was using the PRS, and I think it went in the shop or something, and I had bought this. And I started playing it, and it just, once you get used to the thickness of semi-hollow body and the sustain you can get out of it, when you pick up a Fender or something, you hear other people play them, and they sound fantastic, but it feels like a mosquito tone. I just couldn't get used, and I'm trying to force myself to get back into playing some Fender stuff, But, you know, to get back to that, like you were talking about the Billy Gibbons kind of thing, you know, that whole, you know, kind of, sound,
Yes.
you know, of the way he played with that attack, you know, and, that kind of sound, I just kind of got hooked on it, you know, and I just couldn't. Just couldn't really get away from it, man. I love it. You know?
I love it too, man. It's because it's nasty, but it's like, it's clear. Grit.
Yeah, I love it. But I'm trying to get back into playing, be a little more versatile. I find myself not getting in a rut, but just being too routine over and over, doing the same things over and over again. Like I see, you got a bunch of pedals and stuff sitting up here on this shelf up here. I had a bunch of pedals, and I bought a new pedal board.
You're like reading my mind, because I was going to ask you, man. Pedals were going to be. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So normally, for my overdrive, I use a Sparkle drive. I think that was modified by Keeley, and a Tube Screamer.
Yes.
And I bought a bigger pedal board, like I really needed it, like any of us need it, from a bass player, strangely enough. And it had all this extra room on it, and I had all these extra overdrive pedals that people had given me or I'd bought and not used that much of. So I stuck 3 or 4 of them on there and thought, well, this is my chance to try out all these other overdrives, and I usually end up using the same ones over and over again. I'll try the other ones like a Tumnus, these different pedals and stuff, but I go back to the same stuff a lot for some reason,
You go back and test them out just to make sure these are still the ones.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Any kind of pedal you can't live without?
I can do a gig to be comfortable. I can do a gig. It's nice to have a little bit of reverb or a little bit of delay. I mainly use just a slight slapback, but I don't have to have it. But really, just a little bit of overdrive in a wah-wah pedal, I could probably, probably live with. If somebody said I just had to pick 2 pedals and everything, but I'll use, something else, chorus on a pretty song, or
right.
just like typical stuff.
What amp are you using these days?
I've still been using the Nailer mainly.
Nailer.
Yeah. I bought a Cat 5, and I'm kind of exploring into that now. But my main amp for the last 20 years has probably been a Nailer that was made in Michigan, one of the early ones, a Super Drive 60, and it's a little bit like a Marshall-y, even though I use the cleaner side of it, the lower input with the overdrive pedals. Man, the high input on that thing is
high.
Yeah, it's pretty overdriven. You'd like it. I think you could play with it. It's.
I like the old. I like Van Halen was like, to me, it still is like God to me.
Yeah.
I still go listen to those albums and just go, how? And the more I listen to them, the more every time I realize, like, man, this dude did not play with distortion. Like, he didn't have any gain, and no overdrive or anything.
Yeah.
It was just like hot, like just super hot tone. And
if you can play at a certain volume, it's much easier.
You're right. You have to, though. For him, I think he was like, I would see all these heads in pictures when I was growing up. I'm like, why did he need so many heads? And then I was told, man, he only can go with 3 songs. Because it would like running with the devil, this and that. Then he would have to go to this other head because it would run so hot.
Oh, really?
He'd have to like turn them off or would go to this other heads. But that just sonically, when you're a kid, you don't question things. It's just like, wow. But when you grow older and you like kind of get into it, and Van Halen 1 to 1984, it's like the gain level just did this. It gradually got cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. But the songs were heavy. Yeah. It's still, it was just like.
But if you can crank up a Marshall, it'll sound that way. But if you can't crank it up, then that's the problem. If you play, smaller clubs and different things, you can't always crank these amps up, and so that's where the pedals come in handy, right? Like Dickie didn't really use any overdrive. He just plugged into when we first toured with them, they didn't do sound checks. So one day they were working on his amp, and they told me to come over and check it out. They wanted to see if it was working okay, and they handed me his 57 Gold Top. And this is before I knew him real well, so it was kind of like cool, And so I turn it on, and they turn his amps on, and I just turned it up about quarter of the way, and it's like real loud. And they were like, "No, crank it up." And I cranked it up and played a few notes on it, and I turned around and I said, "That's how loud he plays." And man, it was the 200-watt Marshalls, the Plexis, and it was super loud.
Super loud.
But he used JBLs in the cabinets, instead of using like the lower watt greenbacks like a lot of guys do.
Okay.
And that's what made his sound a Les Paul, but he still kind of bell tone a little bit of a sweet Fender sound too.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of his unique thing, was the Marshall amps kind of cranked up with, JBL speakers,
He uses his volume tone like crazy too.
And so that's an interesting approach too, is using, Stevie Ray did that, used bigger, higher wattage speakers like EVs and things that wouldn't overdrive. But if you cranked your amp up enough, you still got a really cool, clean tone that had sustain and overdrive to it, but it was still clean, like you said.
That's so awesome. Yeah, like kind of like a compressed limiter kind of touch.
Yeah. So,
but naturally. Mm-hmm. Man, that's amazing.
But like I said, you got to use pedals for some of that stuff if you're playing in smaller clubs. You can't just
when I was growing up,
crank your
man,
amps up.
I couldn't do it. I had to get a cheap, like Marshall 100-watt head. I was left at Hole in the Wall Studio one time. It was I think it came from Texas Tom Music, like a half stack. It was a white, like a full stack, I think, 100 watts. I was like, I went in there and turned everything on 10. Then I left me there, and everybody had gone to Cardi's, all the old, and I just sat there, and it was like, it wasn't that thing, even with the Cheap Screamer, man. I was too young. Yeah. I didn't realize, I wanted more sustain, more gain, more sustain, more gain, which I eventually got. Like this thing, this is kind of, it's like a super Plexi, souped up Plexi.
Right, yeah.
And then some.
Yeah.
Mike makes incredible amp. He did this amp too, actually.
Oh, wow.
But they get more, more gain than you need.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's stepping into the metal realm. But, again, going back to Eddie, everything was in his hands. So playing like that Les Paul, when I was, playing in the, Southern metal bands, and people would go, "What do you do for your clean channel?" I'm like, I turn the guitar down.
That's what I do.
Right?
I pretty much leave my overdrive pedals on and stuff all the time.
Everything else is in your hands,
turn
man.
down halfway.
I see you doing it now.
To play in rhythm, I turn down, real low, because when you play the blues thing, a lot of the rhythm parts are cleaner.
Right.
They're not, distorted.
Right.
And then when you play your lead, you crank it up, And then you get done, you back down to your rhythm volume,
I love this guitar, man. I want to know just a little bit more about this guitar. You sound great, by the way, man. Always.
It's got the Rio Grande humbuckers in it.
Okay.
And
so they're
it's
humbuckers. They're not
1997, I believe.
They're not mini buckers. They're humbuckers.
Yeah, they're humbuckers.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a '97 Robin Savoy. I've been playing it quite a bit. As you can see, I'm starting to wear it a little. It's actually in really good shape compared to as much as I played it over the years.
No doubt.
It's
you bought this from when?
Probably around '97 or '98.
From Robin.
Yeah, from Robin. Not from the store, but actually from their shop over there, TC Jester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, it's not
Keith
really
Collins used to work
been modified or anything. It's just basically been refretted a couple times. But yeah, I've been playing it a lot the last 10, 15 years. Really.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to change it up a little bit. I love this guitar, but I really need to, to be a little bit more creative and adventurous. Let's say, just for my own sake. But if you're a band leader, sometimes, you want to go play with your pedals. You want to go play with your new guitars. I got to book those gigs. I got to keep this. I got to get the van worked on. I got to get the PA worked on.
Yeah.
It's a funny life.
Yeah, man. Man, for me, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
My friend brought a Jazz Master over yesterday, man. Clean tone. I had to go through my stuff.
Yeah.
And it was different, man. It sounded like a hollow body. It's like it by itself, it had this resonance, and then got captured in it. So it's different than like some of my electrics or it was even different than a Tele or a Strat. It was his own thing, man.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. It had like a hollow body magic to it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
some guitars, have this particular magic. This for you though, you said everything else.
I just got used to it. It's like part of my body almost, you know. Yeah, I bought a Jeff Beck Strat not too long ago, and I took it out, was playing it some, and I was starting to get used to it, and then I ended up getting sick and all that stuff, and so I haven't quite got back to experimenting with that, but I really do want to start playing some different guitars and experiment a little bit more. Playing music, Marzi, is, think about what we do. It's so weird. Okay, you got a piece of wood that somebody puts wires on, right? And we hit it different ways, and it makes people feel like certain things. It's bizarre, to think about. You start hitting this thing in certain ways, or hitting the drums, and people want to get up and move their bodies, or it makes them want to cry, or, it's such a great thing to be able to make people feel good, and I'm just grateful for it every day, It's, but it is bizarre when you really break it down and think about what it is that, we take these pieces of wood and affect people's lives with them.
To me, it's like a miracle that happens, and I think that in order for the listener, to get that, the source has to have put in so much work to get that, to deliver that. It's a lot easier, you hear it in your head. By the time you have to execute it, it's a different. So that whole soul searching. Mm-hmm. So with you, obviously, there's all countless hours spent to get to that level to bring it, and it's just your upbringing has been like. I just love hearing about that. As soon as you started talking about your family, I was like, kind of like when I was listening to Jerry Cantrell. Yeah. He grew up in a family, musical family, and talking about a family band. That is absolutely amazing. Because to me, there's nothing cooler than actually because I think when you have a realization of something. I think I was like a kid walking and thinking, man, if I just go, and I had a bass player, and then a drummer play. Oh my, and then you create something, I know it's probably not that magical to some, people now because we're all so jaded, but when you're growing up, that magic, we still hone that energy. And it's like, I don't think it ever changes. No. You just get better at it. And then you get to share that emotion with everybody.
It's scary though. When you first start making music and you want to put it out there, you got to be vulnerable and ready to take criticism. And you make an album and you're like, okay, I hope somebody likes this. But if not, I'm just making it for me and my friends and my family, and and you don't worry about it too much, or at least you say that, And then if people like it, then it's a bonus. If people like it a lot, it's a super bonus. But it's it's hard, to put yourself out there. Your feelings, your style, playing music. It's it's a trip,
Well, you doing it, and the world needs this because as crazy as the world gets, the more we need Mark May. After the 2 albums, Mark, I wanted to get back to that. Mm-hmm. What have you done, and what are you planning on doing?
Well, I made those 2 albums with Ice House, and then I made an album called Dollmaker with a local guy who started a record company, Textone Records, a guy named Jim Gale, who managed me for a few years. And then, so I have 7 albums altogether. The last one that I've made is on Mike Zito's label. Do you know Mike?
Mike Zito?
Zito. Yeah. He's from Nederland, over by Beaumont area.
Okay.
He's big time on the blues scene. Look him up. He's
I will.
He plays all the.
I want to get caught on camera line going,
no, that's
Mike,
fine.
Man, we just had dinner
We
last night.
can't all know everybody, but no, he's a great artist, and he's got his own label called Gulf Coast Records, and so I'm on his label now. But he's he plays all the biggest festivals, and he just had his latest album produced by Joe Bonamassa and Josh Smith and those guys.
Awesome.
And so
you're in his label now.
I'm on his label. My last album came out on his label right during the pandemic.
Oh man!
And it's called Deep Dark Demon. And but it did
wow,
well.
How appropriate!
Yeah, it did well. You know, I got a song in there called Harvey's Dirty Side, and it's not about a dirty old man. It's about, you know, the storm.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
And how devastating that was to this area. You know, but yeah, it did pretty well considering I couldn't get out and tour much to support it. It got up in the Billboard Blues charts for a few weeks, and you know. I'm working on some new tunes, and we're going to try to do another album for his label, maybe you know, sometime next year, you know, spring, summer, whatever.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
man. That was going to be my yeah.
And right now, I'm also doing some gigs with Malford Milligan. Do you know Malford, the singer for Storyville? Do you
Yes,
know the band Storyville?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not lying about that.
Yeah, right.
I'm a hermit, man.
Yeah.
People come up to me with like, you know, a heavy metal guy, tell me about stuff. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah, right.
But yes, I do story.
Yeah, he's a
Storyville,
great singer. So, you
This
know,
is
just to give
amazing.
my voice some rest a little bit, you know, and
Are you? Is this going to be done locally?
he plays. He's living in Wichita Falls, but you know we're going to be playing here and in Austin, and you know just basically Texas.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep it. I can't wait to see
I'll let
that.
you know
I
and
cannot
where it's
wait.
at. You know, and
wait.
I'm going to start putting the dates I do with him on my website. So far, I haven't been doing that, but I've only done a couple of gigs with him so far. But now that I'm getting comfortable playing with him, I'm going to start putting all that stuff on my website and Facebook pages. So
For somebody that's just like catching on and like needs to go deep into the Mark May world, social media, and what is your website?
website's easy. It's just markmay.com.
Markmay.com.
Yeah.
Markmay.com.
And so Facebook and Instagram are Mark May Band.
Mark May Band.
Yeah, and of course I have a personal page on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, those are the easiest places to catch up with us and where we're playing at. And
Awesome.
but,
So
you know,
you're gonna play.
you and I should do some jamming sometime.
I would
man.
love that,
Yeah,
man. I
we
would
need
love
to-
that,
we
but
need
I
to do
can't.
it.
I got to come see you with. I got to come see you next when you play here. Are you going to take that show out of Houston? Are you guys going to like go play Wichita
The
Falls?
Malford
or anything?
Milligan
Yeah.
show? Yeah, most of his shows aren't in Houston. Actually, most of them are in Austin and different places.
Okay,
you know.
okay.
He has played here a few different places, you know, Do-Si-Do. And, you
Yeah,
know,
I love that place. I know you.
and,
You're playing there.
we have a Do-Si-Do show coming up on November 5th on a
that
Sunday.
place is sound. The sound is amazing in that place.
It is
I got to come see you there.
Yeah, cool.
We'll come maybe if they allow us.
Yeah.
Shoot you a little bit.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's always a great place to play.
Man, and I
you know.
would, it'd be an honor to jam with you. I
Yeah.
love guitar playing, and I love to learn stuff. So you can never
Well,
learn.
same here.
I feel
mean,
like
you
I
know,
don't. I don't
can't
know
play the
anything.
stuff you play for sure. You know.
I don't know. I don't know what I play, man. I don't know what I play. I have no idea. I do know though, because I really don't. You know when I love the blues, but if it came down to it, man, I don't know my way around. I know I imitate some Hendrix and some Stevie Ray and stuff
Right,
like that,
sure,
but I do
yeah.
know that when I used to play by myself, that sounded terribly wrong. I would sit there and just play a note, and I would really look at the guitar neck, man. And I was like coming from some serious trauma in life. This thing was just more than a note.
Yeah.
So that whole relationship with it was just
A release.
It wasn't just notes.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if you were new scales and you had guitar teachers and stuff like that. It didn't matter. It mattered what I was like all by myself.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, it's never changed. I one got added here to this one, got a 7-string, but it's never lied to me. It's been like a mirror, and it's been a source of it's been medicine for me.
Sure.
And it's been also an ugly truth giver. It's just like it tells you the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to even look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
I've written songs about myself that were hurtful a little bit, but you're just facing up to the truth.
yeah, you got medicine. You got to give.
But
Mar-
you face it. So.
I want to thank you, man. I want to thank you for being here, sharing this
Man, it's
story.
an honor. I'm telling you.
I can't.
you know,
No, the honor's mine.
yeah.
Honor's mine. And I can't wait to come see you play. And thank you for stopping by and sharing
Yeah.
your story with me for
thanks.
a bit. For those who don't know, follow Mark on all his social medias, and I always say right there in the middle, about 11-inch beard. Even though I don't know if this is, I'll tell you a story about that later. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Make sure to subscribe, like, and all that stuff. I never say it, so I was told to say. He's standing there with like a bat, told me he's going to hit me in the head. Mark.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Peace out, y'all.